Welcome to Shaping E-commerce with Iron Plane. This is where we talk about e-commerce development, solutions, digital marketing, and all things e-commerce. Be sure to check out the description below each video to find additional resource links and show notes. We upload new videos each day. Please like and subscribe to our channel. In this e-commerce marketing series, Integrated Digital Marketing Edition, we explore how executing marketing campaigns across multiple digital channels can help you to create a more efficient and effective unified campaign. In this episode, Project Manager Sean Cohen will discuss tailoring your IDM strategy to your target client audience. Okay, so I've learned a lot from you about what IDM is and about those fundamental channels and tactics. But as I think about it, I start to reverse engineer this process and think a little bit more like a shopper. When I'm first starting out on the process, I want to see different content, maybe a video showing me how the product works, and that's different from what I want to see on a web page when I'm ready to buy. Know how much it's going to cost and when it's going to get here. So can you talk about how we can, what are the tools available for us to really be able to get the right content to the right people?
So there's traditional sales marketing funnels that pretty much anyone in a marketing or an e-commerce industry has seen or heard of once or twice. So if somebody is in the research phase, if they're more passive, if they're at the top of the funnel, you want to tailor whatever content you're reaching them with toward education, toward trust building and credibility establishment. So these are the occasions where you want to, like you mentioned, maybe have a video that helps them understand how to use your product, your service, or answers common questions about your product and service, because these people are still educating themselves. They're still at the top of the funnel. They haven't made a decision. They're not even comparing yet. Maybe they're just trying to figure out what's out there. So you want your content wherever you're capturing them. If you're sending them to your website, if you're sending them to a landing page, you want the content on that page to be tailored toward helping them understand your product or service and trust your product or service. So that can look like a lot of things depending on what your product or service is, right?
Sure.
It could be accreditations. It can be customer testimonials saying how great your product is. It can be comparison tables. Here's what the competitor offers. Here's all the things that I offer that they don't. So it's helping establish the credibility of your product or service. It's helping your customer understand what it is, how to use it, where to get it, all the things that they would need to know in order to get further down the funnel and get closer to that conversion. So you absolutely can tailor the content based on where your customer is in the sales funnel. And you can tell where they are in the sales funnel based on traffic sources.
Okay, so all of this is making a lot of sense. But I start to think about the practicality and trying to decide, we all have a limited amount of money. Budget's always tight. Time is tight. In terms of, the time I have to actually do this stuff and the time that I'm going to let it kind of ride to see if it works. So how do we go about determining, where are we going to place our precious resources as we start out or start to fine-tune this kind of campaign?
Some of the, and you hit on two of them. I would say there are kind of four main factors that's going to impact which channels and tactics you choose for your digital marketing strategy, and it's also going to impact everything else you mentioned. So budget is one. How much should I spend? Time and duration is another. How fast is this going to work? How much time do I have as a business owner to launch, and how much time am I willing to give it to work? And then the other two, I would say, are maybe slightly less important, but still important, are resources. Who's going to be producing the assets and executing the tactics? Do I have the capabilities and time and capacity to do this? Do I need to hire someone? What tools or skills do I need in order to actually follow through with this in the correct way? So resources they kind of fall under budget, but it goes beyond budget, right? It's, can I do this myself? Am I willing to invest in another person or another agency or a tool or a software application, something that's going to help support this? And the last point I would say is, where are you starting from? What's your starting point? What are your current performance indicators? So your KPI benchmarks is what a lot of people are going to call them. So where am I starting from as far as the size of my customer base? Do I know the size of my customer base by those different channels or by those different traffic sources? What's their current brand awareness? Do they even know I exist? Am I starting from scratch, or do I have a loyal following already? What's my current digital presence? Am I already really well established as far as my website, my SEO? Do I have good organic visibility, but maybe I need a little bit better social presence, or I need a little bit more effort in my email marketing and my abandoned cart program? So the starting point is also a factor that you want to consider. So budget and time was your original question. So these can both impact which channels you choose to include in your integrated digital marketing strategy. If you have limited budget, but you have maybe plenty of time and expertise, you've got a lot of resources, you've got time to kind of let this thing grow, and you have time to test and iterate and evaluate the results, then budget is going to be your number one most important factor. If you're working with a constrained budget, that's going to be what you want to consider first when you're selecting your channels and tactics. So in these scenarios, you might want to emphasize organic tactics that don't require a whole lot of ad spend. And instead they leverage your skills. Like maybe you have writing skills or content development skills, and you or your team is able to develop landing pages for your website or publish content, organic content on your social media channels. These don't take a whole lot of dollar investment. They take a lot of investment in your skills, your team, and your time. But if you're short on budget, but long on time, organic channels and tactics are a great place to focus your efforts. If you're limited on time, so if you're like, I really don't have a whole lot of time to iterate and test and evaluate, I just want to do something that I know is going to work or at least move the needle. In these cases, you want to focus on channels and tactics which don't require lengthy ramp up periods to gain momentum. So on the opposite, SEO it's a huge category, right? It's a huge tactic that encompasses a whole lot of things, and it can take a really long time to move the needle. It's not a short game. It's not a sprint. SEO is a marathon. If you're short on time, you don't want to be running a marathon. So in these scenarios where you're short on time, but maybe budget is not so much of a constraint, you might want to look at Google Shopping or display ads. So Google Ads is a huge umbrella. You can do paid search, but paid search ads can take weeks, months, a really long time in certain cases to return optimal results. And by optimal, I mean efficient and cost effective. So to get those CPCs down to where you want them to be, to get the search volume and click-through rates to a point where it's making sense, it's returning on your investment in a way that makes sense for your business. Paid search can take a really long time to get to that point. But Google Shopping and display ads are more visual. They're sometimes able to be displayed across a wider variety of sites. You're not just limited to your Google search results, right? Like you are with paid search ads. You can place them across an entire Google display network. And they're really visual and engaging, and they're a great way to build up remarketing lists. They're a great way to introduce your brand to people who are not necessarily searching for your products or services. So display ads and then Google Shopping ads, which are people searching for your products usually. Those are great ways when you're short on time, but maybe have enough of a budget to invest in a paid digital campaign. I would definitely look at Google Shopping and display ads. Paired with, and make sure you're pairing them with equally complementary tactics and channels. So email marketing campaigns can often be a really effective method to build momentum quickly as well. So if you have an email list, hopefully you have a nicely built, opt-in, privacy policy compliant email marketing list, which is a great way to just kind of reach a whole lot of people cost effectively, quickly, and build up that traffic to your website. So short on time, focus on those channels and tactics which don't require long ramp up periods. So Google Shopping, display ads, email marketing. Short on budget, focus on those organic tactics, landing pages for your website, content on social media. Even email marketing too. I mean, it's pretty cost effective. So there's lots of ways you can mix and match channels and tactics depending on where your 4 kind of key factors fall. And those 4 key factors, again, budget, time, resources, and where you're starting from.
So a lot of these channels make perfect sense to me. They seem very logical. They may be new technology to a certain extent, but they are very familiar in terms of what they do. They're sort of linked up with selling something. And this may be a function of my age, but I'm wanting to talk about social media and the value of spending time and energy trying to engage with customers or potential clients by tweeting something or doing an Instagram live or posting a story on Facebook or something like that, just to draw attention to my products and services, but not necessarily paying for ads, because it doesn't cost money, but it takes time and energy and effort. So is there a lot of data that's going to be able to show me if it's worth my time?
Sure, yeah. So there's tons of data.
Okay.
And like with everything, I'm going to say it all depends on your audience and
Okay.
your product or service. That said, if your audience is very active on Twitter, then yes, of course, it's probably worth spending a little bit of time to engage with your audience where they are most active. If they are, another thing to keep in mind is with content amplification, you can really get a lot of bang for your buck without spending a whole lot of time developing unique content for each channel. And I'm not advocating just duplicating your content across all channels and not taking into consideration what are the strengths of these channels, right? Twitter has a short character limit. Facebook is a very visual platform, as with Instagram. So you want to make sure you've got your images, your slideshows, your video content is really well done and high quality if you're going to be leveraging those platforms to better establish your social media presence versus something like Twitter, which is text, right? I mean, I know you can tweet images and stuff, but it's more conversational. It's more about communicating with your audience, as opposed to Facebook, which is still conversational, but it's a little bit more presentational. So it's a little bit more like, if people are just browsing through this content, they don't necessarily have to engage in a conversation with me in order to get the gist of what I'm going for and what I'm trying to convey to them. They can more consume the content without participating in it. Whereas Twitter, it's more like short bursts of information, and it's more conversational, and it's quick, and it's timely, and it's it's fleeting. So as long as you're keeping in mind where your audience is and where they're most active when you're deciding which social media platform to focus on or to really invest your resources and time in. Keep in mind, is my audience there? Are they active? Do I have something to say that's worth my time to put it on there? Or am I just kind of blanketing these platforms because I'm checking off a box? So make sure the time that you're investing in developing content for your social media platforms, when it's this organic content, is, it's worth the results that you're going to get or not get. If it's really important that a message get across, maybe don't put it on Twitter. Maybe make sure it's on your website and it's in an email list. Social media is it's ubiquitous. I think it's very important for a lot of brands to have a presence there. And then there are a lot of brands where it's not so important. So it's all about where your audience is and do they care about the messaging and the content that you're putting on those platforms. Are they going to engage with it? Is it going to establish a conversation? Is it going to help you achieve some sort of marketing goal? Are you looking to improve brand awareness, brand loyalty? Are you looking to establish credibility? Like, make sure the messaging and the content that you're placing on these platforms is meaningful. It's purposeful. It's not just doing it to check a box.
All right. Well, do you have any other last final words of wisdom or, advice for somebody who's thinking about reining in their marketing strategy to become more integrated?
I would just say, I know I've said it 100 times, but if you take nothing else away, focus on your audience first. Try to back into your strategy from a higher level, from a bigger picture perspective. I think that's what's going to be so key in making sure that your digital marketing strategy is an integrated digital marketing strategy. Because when you start from a place where you've already selected a channel or a tactic, you're less likely to consider all the other channels and tactics that might support that channel and tactic. And having these complementary strengths, like the example with, paid search and Google Ads, really depending on the quality of the content and the user experience on your website, the performance of one channel and tactic, when it depends on the performance of another channel and tactic, that's when you're really going to start to see that the result being greater than the sum of its parts. It's where you're going to see so much better results because you're leveraging everything to support each other as opposed to executing in silos. So, together we stand, divided we fall, however you want to look at it. The result is greater than the sum of its parts. All of these philosophies speak to how integrating your digital marketing strategy is going to result in better return on your investment, more effective results, and moving the needle toward achieving those marketing goals. So make sure everything's supporting each other.
Awesome. That's perfect. Okay. Well, thank you again for taking the time to talk.
For more insights on how to improve your e-commerce website and for a free consultation, visit ironplane.com. Follow us on social media and like and subscribe below.